Well, hello there. How is everyone? I hope you're all well on this amazing, fabulous Friday. And you're looking absolutely fabulous, by the way. This is video 1 of 2. I hope you are all feeling as refreshed as I do today. And what are we talking about? We are getting straight into the meat and potatoes today because the Gonzalez family have released a full statement now. I'm not going to show you it on their site because, again, I'll get struck down with furious anger. You know the drill. So I'm just going to read it. I'm going to react to it. And hopefully they'll listen. I doubt it, but we can hope. Anyway, let's get straight into it because I want you to go and enjoy yourself today. Do something productive. Statement from the Gonzalez family. We have been waiting on this information for months, and it has finally arrived. It is so hard not knowing anything about the case, and you find you have to cling to dates. So, at least in this, they're kind of saying that, that they don't really know anything about the case. That's the important part to understand. That despite being at ground zero and seemingly coming out with statements that would suggest they know more, in this statement, they're saying that they don't know anything about the case. So, stick a pin in that. And you find you have to cling to dates, motions, and hearings in order to figure out anything. A big part of this has been waiting on the alibi information. Now that it is here, we feel even more confident in the prosecution of the defendant. Not sure that they're fully understanding. They've obviously got no one who is having a discussion with them about why this is, in fact, something that they should be taken more seriously, but we'll get to that in a second. The defence's claim is that the defendant was driving late at night, hiking, running, and stargazing. We are not sure why it has taken over a year for this to come out, as those don't seem to be complicated activities. It's not about the complication of the activity. What it is like what we say, that you can have an alibi and say you have an alibi. It's the proving of the alibi that is the issue. You can say you was somewhere, you can say you was doing something, but that's not what, when you're going through this process, the prosecution are asking you. They're not asking you to come round and say, oh, I was stargazing, or I was out running, hiking. They're asking you to be able to prove with evidence that you was doing something, or you was somewhere else. And there lies the problem. For longer than we've ever seen before, the prosecution have been withholding information. They've been withholding evidence that Anne requires in order to prove the alibi. And she has been saying this in court hearing after court hearing. The recent court hearings, physically saying, we have an alibi, you're holding us to this alibi deadline, but you're not holding the prosecution, you're not giving them any deadlines for giving me what I need. So it's almost like you're siding with the prosecution. You're telling me you want this deadline. You're giving me you want the alibi. Sorry, you're giving me this deadline, and I'm telling you I can't complete all of the work around this deadline without the discovery that I'm requesting. But they're just getting away with not giving me it. How many more times does Anne have to ask for information? You're saying in this that you're confident about the defendant's guilt. Well, if there's that absolute confidence and the prosecution has everything they need, then why don't they just hand it over? And this is going to go into why that is and why you have to take this incredibly seriously. But we'll carry on. So the defense claim that the run, hike, and stargazing, we're not sure why it's taken over a year. We believe that if his alibi had any weight, it would have been submitted months ago. Again, I refer you back to the aforementioned issues with requesting discovery, not being given it, and being able to corroborate an alibi, not just saying an alibi. It's the corroboration of the alibi. It is also in direct conflict with the probable cause affidavit that states the defendant's phone was turned off between 2:47 a.m. and 4:48 a.m. The PCA doesn't say that the telephone was switched off. It says that it wasn't transmitting. There was no transmitting to the towers. So they believe that the defendant shut his phone off to hide his whereabouts. And that's why it's very important that you listen to this information, because the guy who they've got, this specialist who they've got in, what Anne is alluding to is that she actually has the geofencing data direct from the phone, the GPS data from the phone. Okay, so what she's saying, that the data within the phone, saying the phone is here, is far more accurate than the cell tower data. And what Anne is waiting for, she is waiting for the cast information, the cast data. She is waiting for all of the proof and the evidence that tracks Bryan Kohberger's journey. Because what this specialist has got to do, and I spoke about this last night in the live, is drive test all of what the prosecution are saying. So where they're saying Bryan Kohberger's car is tracked from this point to this point to this point, they have got to drive test that to see whether what he's found in his data that comes direct off the phone corroborates with their data that they're pushing forward as saying this is Bryan Kohberger's car. Because I would say that at some point these go off in a different direction and they no longer make sense to one another. It's saying that his phone is in a place and his car's in another place, and perhaps on that journey, if Bryan Kohberger is where his phone is, then it's not going to be pinging off of the various towers that they are claiming Bryan Kohberger pinged off of. Do you know what I mean? Do you get that? And there lies the issue. Because if the prosecution are purposefully withholding some of that information because they know that there is potentially an issue with it, then you have a problem. You know, and if you just want to see justice being served, then you should be thinking at this stage, well, hold on a second. If this guy is saying, and Ann Taylor is saying that they've got Bryan Kohberger's actual phone data, his GPS data off his phone, and that is placing him somewhere that means that the data that the prosecution are trying to push, just they can't be one and the same person, then I want to know that. As a family, I want to know that, because we need to know that who took our daughter from us and the other victims, we need to know that they're going to get justice. And it's the right person. But you seemingly in this seem to be ignoring the fact or not understanding the fact. And that surprises me of Steve, because I thought that this was Steve's bag. Getting into data and getting into, you know, exactly this stuff and understanding it. But anyway, so if the defendant was driving around and there is cell phone information that he was in a different place, it would be either before or after the times of the murders. No, they're not interested in before and after the murders. They're on about the exact time of the murders. The exact time of the murders. You know, around this area, these very rural areas, that phones can loop in and out of signal. They can drop signal. Or if Bryan Kohberger's phone simply wasn't off, haven't got cell phone data, or they're hiding cell data, cell phone, you know, the cell tower data, or they're just not handed. Why would they not hand it over to Ann Taylor? They are obviously not confident in their case, Steve, are they? And Christy, do you know what I mean? That if they were confident, they would hand everything over. And they wouldn't have been so seemingly twitchy about things such as the movement of the trial and losing that bias that is in the community. And I know the bias exists. I've seen in the comments about people who talk about their families who live close to this, who have had as much of enough of it as the next person. Just convict him already. Just get it over with already. Do you know what I mean? Was in a different place at the time of the murders, hence not really an alibi. So, hence not really an alibi. So we're saying that if this guy can prove that Bryan Kohberger's phone was in a different place than what the prosecution are saying he was in at the time of the murders, you don't consider that an alibi. What is it then? Just something that should be ignored to get a conviction of a guy that you have convicted already in your minds. We continue to look forward to justice in this case and can now put this part of the proceeding behind us. Thank you for your support and our support for our family. And then you just get comment after comment of this is complete nonsense. Can't wait until he's convicted. Sorry they made you wait this long. And this is, again, this just further perpetuates this mentality. I saw the people who was in comments after the live yesterday that this guy, they're like, oh, this is a guy who lied about being an engineer. He's a liar and got kicked out of a court. And just like, this is what happens when people are just hell-bent on believing that someone's guilty. So when someone comes forward, it's just about rubbishing and tarnishing their image. The guy, Sy, never said he was an engineer. It's not the statement he made. He made a statement, I'm more of an engineer than an engineer. Meaning that he feels that he is that skilled at what he does that it puts him in a very strong position in that realm of, work. It's like someone who is, say, for instance, for those of you who watch Get a Clue, it's like Get a Clue turning around and saying, well, I think that I'm more of a cop than the cops that are around Moscow, Idaho. He's not saying he's a cop. He's just saying that he feels, based on what he's doing, that he is more effective at that job than those that are doing that job. But again, this play on words, this twist on words, in order to prove your point is right. This guy's a liar. He said he was an engineer. Fake. It's not what happened there. But anyway, that was their response. I know I did a video yesterday on their small little quip, but that was obviously a more structured response. They've been helped to put that statement out, no doubt. It took a little bit of time, hence the wait. But they just clearly, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, just not getting it. Just not getting it, and it's sad. Because this situation, if Anne does have what she is alluding to, then this should be taken a lot more seriously than people are. But who are we to tell people what to do, hey? Anyway, I hope you all have a absolutely fantastic day. Go and do something productive. Let me know what you're doing down below in the comments if you're doing anything interesting this weekend. I've got another video coming out later that looks into the finances of this because there's been a freedom of information request on a lot of the money that's going through this case, and that's quite an eye-opener as well, so keep your eyes peeled. I'll see you all then.